Hello, my friends. John LaRuffa here with another Straight Up Solo. And in this episode, we're going to look at Endless Winter, the solo mode. I'm going to show you how it plays. We're just going to be talking about the base game here, no expansions or anything like that. And I will hopefully help you figure out if this is a game you want to add to your collection or one you want to skip. So let's go get started. Okay, folks, and as usual, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And if you have, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This game is quite the table hog, and so I kind of apologize for having to do this sideways camera. It's just so much going on, I had to get it all in, and I don't have a way to do it otherwise. So let me explain a little bit about what's going on. I'll talk to you about the mechanics of the solo, then I'll demonstrate, what's happening here. So this is the way the game looks as you enter the final of 4 rounds, the last of 4 rounds. You've got basically an action selection board up here. You've got a tableau of cards to choose from. These decks are all the same, whereas these decks over here are different. Every card in this deck is different, or this tableau area is different, and you can choose from these and play them at the beginning of your turn, while these different chief cards or whatever, they're not just chiefs. There's a shaman and an elder and a crafter and a pathfinder and a hunter. All of these do something specific for you while you're using them on your turn. You have this map board here, which basically functions as a small area majority mini game, I would say. The heart of the game is really in the card play and the actions you're trying to take, and they go into 4 different categories. The first category has to do with your deck building, all right? So everything related to this section right here has to do with how you're building your deck, what you're putting in either into your hand or what you're putting into the discard pile. The second category has to do with these crafting cards, or I can't remember. I think they're not called crafting cards, but these cards right here, culture cards, that's what they are. And these, you can get them and play them at the beginning of a round, play as many as you want, and they all let you do some special specific action once, and then it goes in your discard pile at the end of that round. Also, you're going to be able to build these monuments. I think they're called monuments. I'm sorry for the names here. Let me see. They're sacred stones, sacred stones, and you put them in your area, and what those let you do is, in each of the eclipse rounds, which happen at the end of the round, you will be able to score bonus points, or I shouldn't say bonus points, but just points in general for meeting some specific condition. So these have to do with, the types of animals you might have. These have to do with where some of your villages are, or other cards. And there's a bunch more in the game than you actually play with, so there's some variety there. This right here is the exploration action, which is how you move your tents around, put tents on the board, and the tents are basically like little encampments, and they are how you do the area majority. And if you have several of them in like a 3-space configuration, you can replace them with a village as long as it's not in the center area, and that counts as like 2 tents in each of these different areas. And then finally, you have the hunting track over here, and this may be even off camera, so let me move it. I think it is off camera. I lost the hunting track. All right, we're going to move that up here so that way you can kind of see. And what the hunting track does is basically it's a set collection, all right? So you've got kind of a set collection mini game over here where you can collect them for points, but if you want to use them, you can tip them sideways for some type of bonus. And usually the bonus has to do with gaining more tools or food, or placing something down here, or moving up on this track over here, which is the final thing you have in this game, which has to do with how many points you're going to get for leftover food and or tools at the end of the game, and how many points you're going to get for, or if you're in the lead, I should say, with regards to the cards you've discarded and buried in here. So if you're in the lead, you're going to score more points than if you're second in this area. And the amount of points you score is based on how many cards that you've buried, which is basically discarded and burned out of the game from your deck. So what this game ultimately offers here is a combination of mechanics that we've all seen before. and it does so in a good way. Oh, by the way, this area right here, I forgot. It's not really one of these areas on any of these boards. The way you get to put these, what is it? It's not a sacred stone. The monolith. The way you build a monolith over here has to do with cards you might play or other certain bonuses you might get throughout the game. And so the monolith is basically reminiscent of kind of the same kind of mechanic you had in Teotihuacan, where you cover something up, you get a bonus, and if you're able to stack it, you get a bunch of points. And so you have that kind of thing going on right there. So that's a big overview of the game. Now, the way that the AI works is actually fairly straightforward and simple, which I like. They use this deck of cards. There are 16 cards here. And basically what the card does is it tells you on the turn where it is going to try to place a worker. And that is so that it starts filling up these worker tracks, because basically, while you can go on one of the tracks that's already been taken by somebody else, you don't get the final bottom bonus that you would normally get if the track was empty. So that's what it's going to do. And instead of taking the action on the track, you would just take the actions below where you actually place the person. And then in the next turn, you cover up your cards so it offers more actions, and then more actions still. If you want to play in hard mode, you can add an additional card at the beginning. That's one of the things that can make the card harder, or the game harder, so that they basically take more actions per turn. They do everything you do. The way that it handles certain things, though, it's a little bit simpler. They don't have to use a deck building mechanic. They use this card right here, pardon me, to kind of show you in certain cases, like for instance, they don't take they never draw cards or add to their hand. They just start burying more cards. They don't put cards in any kind of discard pile. They'll just get tools, etc. So it makes it easier, and you don't have to manage their deck, which is nice, but you still get the same feeling of playing against a full-fledged player. So with all that said, let's play a couple turns so that you can see. Now this is my hand over here. One thing that is unique about this game is there is no hand limit. And at the very end of the game, I have a ton of cards, and I can use as many as I want. So that is one thing that you definitely see here in this game, is where, I'll tell you right now, where most games, most Euro games feel very tight and constricted, and there's a lot of angst about not being able to do all you want. In this game, I don't feel that. I feel like I've got plenty that I can do on my turn and reap a ton of benefits because of how many cards I can play, etc. So it has a different feel completely than most other Euro games. And whether you're going to like that or not is based on your preferences, I think. But instead of some games that feel very constrained, this one does not have that constrained feel to it. Okay, so I am going first. You have 3 workers to place, 2 regular ones and 1 chieftain. And your chieftain, when you place it, will let you do something unique based on whatever the chieftain card says there. And there's a bunch of different chieftains in the box. I think there's 5 in the base game. And each card is multifunctional, so you can do, one side or the other. So I'm going to begin. I'm in the end, and I've got a little bit of a lead, which I think is probably just a little misleading, because they've got a lot of cards buried. They've got a lot of points stored up in animals. I wasn't focusing a lot on the end game things as much as I was focusing on during game scoring points. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to resolve my turns. The first thing I do is play any crafting cards that I would like. And this storytelling crafting card is the one I'm going to play first. I can play as much as I wanted, but I want to do this one now. And what this does is it says I can spend 1 tool to boost or push up 3 on this track, either of them. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. That way, at the very end of the game, I'm going to get 1 for 1 points for resources I left over, which I don't have a lot of resources, but I figured that might be worth a lot. I also can bury a card from anywhere. So I can bury a card from my hand, my discard pile, whatever, even the cards I just played. And I don't know specifically. Yeah, I can bury one from here, so I might as well just bury this one since I'm not going to use it again. It's the end of the game, and there we go. Just puts one more under there to help me score a few more. All right, so that was kind of like the first thing you can do before your action. Now I'm going to take my action proper, and I think since we're winding the game down, at least being in the last action, I don't have a lot of hunting stuff. So I'm going to try to get myself going a little bit more on the hunting track. So let's go ahead and see if I could do that, because the problem is I just spent my last, well, that was kind of silly. I just spent my last tool. So how can I get some more tools? There's the one constraint I've had this whole game is I've been low on tools. Let's see. There's not a whole lot out there that can make me the tools. So, oh, here we go. I could play the tribeswoman. So I'll use the tribeswoman as one of my cards. And you're supposed to play them up here, but as you can see, this is such a table hog. I don't have a lot of room. So the tribeswoman lets me, at least at the beginning, convert one food into one hammer, or one tool. So I'm going to do that right away. And yes, I'm going to play this right here. We are going to go hunting. And then I think I will also use the, maybe that's going to be it. Because I don't have an abundance of tools. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do that. Use the tribeswoman to do that exact thing. And then what that'll do is it will give me the tool I need. So first off, I can put some more things in this area. That will help me hopefully get more cards. Actually, I do need to do one thing. I do want to play one of these Braves. The reason I want to play the Brave is that way it will boost up the number of work ethic or work or whatever you want to say, effort that I can use. So this gets me to 4 of those icons. So I'm going to spend 1 right now to draw 2 cards in the hopes that I get one that matches. Well, that didn't exactly work. None of those match. It's kind of a bummer. All right, I can do it one more time, but I can only use a maximum of what we have out here, 6. Also did not go so well. All right, so I have 1 tool to spend, and I can get basically 1 of these cards. So because none of them seem to, well, this one matches, so I'll get this one, the Glyptodon. So the Glyptodon, now that I have 2 of them, will at least give me 3 points at the end of the game instead of just the 1. So I got that. Then I could, if I wanted to, I could tip over one of my cards. I'm not going to do that. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I had this woolly rhino right here. Yeah, it's the same as the Glyptodon, but I actually did have some ashes. Oh, that was stupid. Move this over so I don't make that mistake again. Regardless, I could tip some of these over to get some certain things. I don't need to tip them over because I want the points. We're so close to the end. And then finally, because I'm the first one to go there, I get the top deck 1 here and hope for the best. Oh yeah, there we go. Woolly Rhino. All right. Now we go to the AI. Now what's the AI going to do? They're going to draw that card, like I said, the first card, and they're going to follow the priorities. Well, it wants me to move here first if there's nobody there. And no one's there, so I can move there. The first thing, you just put them right down at the bottom there. Darn it. Losing my cards. Okay. The first thing that it does is it scores 1 point for every tent it has on a glacier tile. It only actually has 1 in this case, so it just gets 1 point in that regard. Then it's going to move these tents to try to accommodate a new setup for the for their tribes. And what it does is basically, depending on the situation, you will move them to different spots. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it's not worth getting into in this video. And that sets it up so that next time, if it takes that action again, it can actually place a village on that spot. Okay, so we've done both those. This turn's over. Now it comes to me, and I should discard these cards because I used them in that first action. You get 3 actions, like I said, because of your workers. So I'm still, I forgot to spend that tool. So I'm still low on tools. And so I want to do something that doesn't require some tools and something that's going to give me some endpoints. Maybe it is time to do some crafting. So let's do that. And I can't get a sacred stone, which is unfortunate. But them's the breaks. That will get me another tool and a food. So let's just do that. So here we go. We're going to put my guy over here. The first thing I need to do is muster up 3 strength or 3 effort. I could spend some food to do that, but instead I've got a bunch of crafters, so it makes much more sense that I actually pay some of these crafters. And I want to go nuts because I want to get some of these tools at the end in the Eclipse phase to actually help me score points at the very end of the game. So I really only need 3 effort. So we're going to go like this, 1, 2, and then I'm going to save those and spend 1 food for my 3rd effort. Now I get to take one of these cards out here. And I think the best thing for me to do is to start betting again down on the set collection. So I'm going to take this one, the Tusks, and this will help me to, is that the best thing to do? Yeah, I think so. This is what I want to do. The Tusks will help me try to pull more things from there. So we've done that. Now, if I had at least 1 tool and 2 food, I would be able to buy one of those sacred stones, which is unfortunately a big miss for me because I don't have the money. So I go here and I just get the 1 tool and 1 food. That's the end of my turn. Now we go ahead and put that card on top for him. He wants to go to this area. Well, it's already full, so he's going to advance to the left to see what else, and it's obviously that one. Like I said, it's really easy to prioritize what he wants to do. So the first thing he's going to do here is he's going to try to play a monolith down. And he's always going to do it. If he can score points by putting it on top of 4 of them, he's going to do that. If not, he's going to follow the arrows here and place in that regard. So he's going to go furthest to the left and down. He puts it over here. That will cause him to actually bury his last 2 cards under here. So he has buried those cards. He's finished that deck. Then Eclipse. So what he's going to do is he's going to discard a card for his Eclipse phase over here to compete with mine, which I'll show you when we get to that spot. And then finally, he's going to draw another card. And since, whoops. Oh, that was an info card. And since he has a configuration that's already set to either go here or here with regards to the tile, what he's going to do is he's going to look to go to the one that's furthest to the left, right here. He's going to build his village right here. And then what it says is you're going to relocate his 3 that he has over here. Actually, it'd be this one, furthest to left. Relocate these to where the card says they go. Okay? And so that is his turn. Now my last turn. So again, I'm a smidge shy on everything tool related. But well, let's start here. Let's do the scouting. So I can play my scouting, which will let me play down and then move a tent. So that's playing it down. Then I can move it. And I want to move it to a spot that's going to let me score, which would be, well, that's already there. The area majority is pretty well balanced at this point. So I will move it here. So he has me by 1, but I've got a plan. And then I get 1 more food. So I did that. I could spend my tool to change it into a monolith, which I think I will do. So I'm going to spend this. I'm going to play this card, which lets me change the tool into a megalith or whatever, monolith. And then I'm going to put this one specifically on one that gives me a bunch of tools. There we go, 2 tools. Now I have what I need. And then I can take this Tusk card, play that also. And I can spend 1 food to draw a card, take a card, and then tip a card if I want. But I'm not going to tip one because I don't want. And those are optional. You don't have to do that. At least I don't think you do. I think it's optional. Okay. finally, I'm going to actually take my turn. So this is going to, my mastermind move is going to be here. I'm going to attempt to move to better position myself down here, if it will make some sense, and I think it will. So I have an elder. That's not really going to be all that good. The shaman I don't need to worry about. What I'll do is I'm going to play this elder down here. That's really kind of a weak move. No, it's not. Because I'm going to be able to... Well, let's see if this works. All right, so let's use these to be able to get 2.5, just two strength. So the first thing I'm going to do is spend 1 tool, excuse me, to place this here. Then I'm going to, yeah, I should have done something a little different beforehand, but that's okay. Then I'm going to spend the effort to go here. That will win me that, deny him the 2 points to give it to me. And then I guess the other effort's wasted. Maybe I won't spend this. Maybe I'll just keep this one. I'll keep this one. All right, now I need 3 food if I was good, but I don't have a configuration to put this out. So I guess I'm just kind of out of luck. If I built more, I'd have to move them, and it wouldn't really help me. So we're just going to leave it at that. Probably wasn't the best to finish moves, but I wanted to demonstrate a little bit of how that works anyway. All right, so we're done there. That was probably a weak move. And then his final move right here, he will try. In this case, he will go to this spot because at the end they'll always be full. So the first thing he does is plays another one of these megaliths, and its time will be furthest to the right and down. So that'll be right here. Gets him 2 cards. So, well, not 2. He flips one over, and he takes one. And again, you prioritize with what's written down there. There's arrows. He's going to take the one that's furthest down, but he's always going to prefer one that's going to help him. So he'll take this one first. That'll help him with his set. All right. Then he's going to bury. Nothing to bury. So since we didn't bury, we shift down. He gets another tool. But since he doesn't need a tool, he would get one of these foods. Since he doesn't need that, he would then go and move this up, and it would be the one on the right because of the arrow. And then finally, another one for the eclipse phase, and another move out here, which doesn't really, well, I mean, it'll change some of the points, so I guess it does matter. He's going to move his 2 inner ones like that. So I overdid it there. That's okay. Okay. So he's done, I'm done, we're finished. Now, here's how the eclipse phase goes. I then play as many cards as I can, trying to generate as many of the hands as I can to keep my player order. I'm going to play them all. I've saved 3, so that's 3 eclipse powers. He happens to have 1.5 plus the one he just set down, which is 2. So I beat him, which means I can retain my spot as being the first one here, which means it lets me play the final one of these. And since I'm getting 1 point per, I might as well go, well, what is he going to do? He may or may, no, he'll be fine. So I'm going to get the 2 food. But I'm going to do it like this, just in case he can somehow play it on top of anything. I don't want him to play it on top of mine. So that's 2 food, 1, 2. Then, because I did that because I was the first in the turn order track, which gets the best reward. Then I go ahead and execute whatever I've got on my cards. So that's going to be 4 tools plus, so I max out that, and because I can't take my final tool, I would then get another food. And then I get to choose a card, it doesn't matter which, and just put in my discard, because they're all worth 1 point. So that is done there. That's the eclipse part there. Then I look at the area majority, and I see what I've got. Well, I've got the majority here, because even though we're tied, if you're tied in this game, you share the reward, you both get it. So that's 1 point there. 2 food here. one additional stone, but I've used them all. So since I can't place one of those, I can bury a card. So I'll bury this card. And then, right, we did that. Then over here, I still win all those ties. So I get to advance this one more. I get to get the point. And I get to place another one of those, which we just said I couldn't do, so I bury another card. And then over here, I get the 2 points. All right, so now I've done those. The final thing is to do what's on the board here. And the thing that I do is work out these sacred stones, which is 2 points for every village I've built on one of those. So that's 4 more points. So let's make it 34. Plus, I get to draw 2 cards into my hand, which I don't think matters at this point, but I'm going to draw them in my hand. I get 1 more tool, which then converts into a food. And then I get 2 more bumps over here, so I cross that, so that gives me 2 points. That's the end of my eclipse phase, if I didn't miss anything, which I don't think I did. There's one other action you could do. You can have your person rest if you want. If you want them to rest, then they give you some more benefits in the eclipse. It allows you to eat some animals and other things like that. The benefits basically meaning you get to draw a card to your hand, you get 1.5 effort and labor. That's what it's called, labor. And then you would be better set out for that final round. Okay, so all these are done for me. They're in the discard. Now for him, he would bury, but he doesn't get to bury because he doesn't have anything to bury. So then tools, then food, then a bump on this, and he bumps this one. Okay, then he comes to his card. He just gets 2 points regardless. And then he would get all these, I believe. I don't see why he wouldn't. So he would get 2 draws, which basically goes all the way down into some major bumps here. So he's going to get 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 bumps here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's unfortunate because that just allowed him to one-up me on this track, which means he's going to get 15 points, and I'm only going to get 10 points because he did that at the very end. So that is unfortunate for John. All right. And I think that's it because it's just those things for him. He doesn't have anything else to reflect anything there. So now we're finished. We don't do a preparation phase, but if this was the end, this wasn't the end of the game. Basically, we'd remove our guys from the board, draw 5 more cards into our hand, replenish this, and basically be ready to go again. So that's the situation. Now, how does the game score at the end? Basically, what you end up doing is you are going to do your set collections over here. As a matter of fact, I'll just read right through it. But set collections, and then the what we just talked about, the burial, and then the cards are going to score. And then if you have anything like with this, you're going to score for your leftover resources. So I suppose I could just show you, since we're at the end here, you can see how it'll all finish up. So the offering track, like I said, he's going to score 2. Now, he never moved on it, so he doesn't get anything for his movement, and I don't think there's anything to stop him. Leftover food based on the current position offering track. Yep. So he doesn't do anything like that. He scores just like you do. Just taking a look here. Yeah, he basically scores exactly like you do in the main game. So what we got here is the first thing we score is the offering track, like I said. So I get 1 point for every leftover thing. I've got 8 of these and 5 of those. So that's 13 more points. So that's going to put me to 49. Then his offering track, he doesn't get anything because he never moved on there. So unfortunately for him, nothing. We go to the honor track. Like I said, he beat me. So he's going to get the max points, and he has tucked all of his cards, which are 10 of them at least. Actually, he's got a few more. Let's see if I got the full amount. I need to tuck 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus. So I had that. So he gets 15, I get 10. So that's going to put him at 30. It's going to put me at 59. The next thing is going to be the actual cards. Now, I don't believe scores for any cards. We just make sure of that. Scores point for any culture cards they buried. Any culture cards still in the sacrifice deck are not scored. So he did score some cards for the because he took some throughout the game. So let's see what he scores. So he scores 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's 12 points for his culture cards. So that's going to put him to 42. For mine, you could just combine them all at the end like this. So I'm going to score for all my cards here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 there, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I get 16 points. That's going to put me to 75. And then finally, we do the non-tipped animals. So here I have 3, 6, 12. I got 12 for my animal scoring, which puts me to 79, 89. And he has 6, 7. Oh, these are wilds. So he can put these with all of his wilds. So he's going to get 10. Probably this. Yeah, 10, 16, 17, 18. So he's going to score 18. Okay, so that's going to put him to 50, 60. And that looks like it. We've scored everything else. All right, so the end of the game, I finished here with 87. He finished with 60. Again, I was playing on the standard, the whole standard configuration with the base game and everything else all set. So yeah, that's it. That's the whole deal. All right, let me let you know what I think. Okay, so that was Endless Winter, base game, solo, and you could see that it was pretty easy for me to control that. This game did not take too many rule lookups. Once I worked through the icons the first time, it was fairly obvious what each of them did, which was helpful. And at first I thought, boy, I need a player aid. But honestly, after playing a few turns, it really became obvious. You also have a nice iconography back sheet of the book that helps too. And while the they don't 100% line up exactly based on what the solo does, it's pretty darn close, and the solo only has a couple other things. So I found that the solo was very easy to administer and to process, and it wasn't distracting based on what he was doing versus what I was trying to do. I also found that, as you saw, I was able to beat the solo player pretty easily without too much effort. So I'm definitely going to be playing this on hard mode and maybe even expert mode next time, depending on how it goes. I scored a lot of points with the placement of my megaliths or monoliths, I forgot which they're called. And that was huge. That was 12 points right there that he never scored any points that way. He scored a couple because I covered him up, but that was a big deal he never got to do. He also didn't get anything for the resources, right? It just happened that way. He did up me at the end with the buried cards, so that was good. He almost got as many cards buried as I had taken, and I did my goal in this game was to buy a lot of cards to get a lot of points and to have better, bigger actions. So I neglected the hunting until near the end when I started to kind of work on it, as you saw, to put a little bit more into my set collection. But ultimately, I think that the hard mode is going to balance it out a little more because he just seemed like he was just a little behind me in regards to what he was doing. So things that I like about the game, I like the variety. I think that the different pieces, it's better than the sum of all of its pieces. The cards are varied. What you're going to be doing in the actions is interesting. And the fact that you can do so much maximizing also makes it kind of interesting because you kind of think to yourself, do I want to do this one now, or do I want to do this one first to really beef up my hand so that I can do this then and really maximize it next time and really get a lot out of it. You know, the culture cards are one example of that, where the earlier you get them, the more often you can play them, the stronger they are, and you can just load them in. So that was kind of cool. I am more of a fan, though, of games that are tighter and have more angst. This game did not seem to have the angst or the tightness, as you could definitely tell. You kind of were able to do much of almost everything you wanted. At least I felt that way. I was able to play all of my megaliths. I put out 2 out of the 3 villages. I had a big deck. I didn't get as many of the sacred stone tiles as I would like, but you can tell, like, there's a lot here. Now, I could have hunted more and gotten more points, so I'm sure it's not that you just tap everything out and you've done everything. It's just, usually I like it to be a little bit more constrained so I can focus on one track, but I can't quite get to the other one, and it really takes some finagling where I can do that. And there are games out there that are more constrained. Sky Mines comes to immediate mind, where you feel like you're clawing to get every last little bit of what you can on those tracks to be able to get where you need to go. Here you don't have that. Now, again, that's a personal preference. I don't dislike the game by any means because of it, but I would prefer a game that's tighter and that's a little bit more constrained. I've always appreciated that in my Euros. And some people say that maybe to do that, you could try a variant where you don't use as many workers in the first couple of rounds. And I could see that maybe interesting to do that. I might give that a try. But overall, I think that this provides a very good medium weight Euro experience for those who are looking for that. You've got a lot of nice elements interweaved in here: the deck building, the area majority, the set collection, and the little mini game with the monolith, megalith, whatever they are, for points. So that's all really cool, plus the tracks, and I think they did a good job. There's nothing massively novel here, at least in the base game. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna pursue the expansions because I do like this game, and I'm looking to see about kind of flushing out some more of the mechanics. I shouldn't say mechanics, but expanding on them, and I don't feel like I'm going to be overwhelmed by that. I did like the fact that each of the crafting cards or the culture cards were very different. They offer different ways to specialize and extra turns to take. That was cool. And generally speaking, I liked how you played your cards in general to beef up your turns. And I know that seems a little bit hypocritical when I just said I don't like I like a more constrained game, but there is something fun about having this big turn there. And maybe they just, I just like to not be able to take as many of them or something like that. I don't know. Either way, I think this is a good game for those who are looking for that medium weight one. But I also think that this isn't an essential game by any means for people who have a lot of medium weight games in their collection. It's relatively affordable, so it's not like you're going to break the bank on it. And it has great art value, and it looks fantastic. But I would say thematically, it's about as, it's not all that thematic, comparatively speaking. You could have had any of these mechanics in a different theme, and it would be the same kind of thing. I don't feel like the theme would get you, but I'm enjoying it. I'm definitely going to play it for a while. I'm looking forward to the expansions, and I don't see it leaving my collection anytime soon, to be honest. But it's not. I wouldn't say it's an essential game that really blows the mind for something that we may not have already experienced if you have a fairly well-rounded Euro collection for solos. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Whatever you decide to play in the future, hope you have a fantastic time doing it. Take it easy, everybody.